I have a very businesslike relationship with the Prime Minister. I've met with him more than any other world leader. I talk to him all the time. He is representing his country's interest the way he thinks he needs to, and I'm doing the same. So the issue is not a matter of relations between leaders. The issue is a very clear, substantive challenge. We believe that two states is the best path forward for Israel's security, for Palestinian aspirations, and for regional stability.
All right, folks, joining us now is Congressman Steve King, of course, Congressman from the great state of Iowa, member of the House Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security. Congressman, welcome, sir.
Well, thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, my pleasure. You kidding me? We're going to push that to the back burner. Let me ask you a couple of things first. Number one, Mr. Cruz, Senator Cruz, has announced. How's he going to do in your state?
I think he will be just fine in Iowa. But when you think of where Senator Cruz is on issue after issue, and I'm one who is always looking for a full-spectrum constitutional conservative, and he's not the only one that's likely to be in the race, but he is one. And he understands this Constitution and the foundation of it. He understands free enterprise, and he believes in a strong national defense. So I think that he's probably the best orator that we're likely to see in the race. He connects well with people. When you watch him walk into a room and people are introduced to him, he seems to remember their names on the way out of the room. I don't have a way of checking beyond that. So I think he'll be fine on the personal contact side of this, too. And you know that Iowa is very much a retail state.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this, and this leads into my next topic with you as well. We had Congressman Yuleskamp on yesterday, and you know, you've been targeted along with him. When you hear the likes of Peter King and many in the Republican establishment, go after Ted Cruz, you know, you've been targeted, basically, as far as I could see, by the Speaker through an American Action Network, a nonprofit who Boehner's former chief of staff is involved with. They've run commercials against a bunch of you guys. So what's with this Republicans attacking Republicans?
Well, I called it, leadership cannibalism, to take the resources from the Republican Party that when people make those donations, they want them to be donations that are spent to advance the platform and advance Republican candidates. And when that money is being used to wound or punish or try to teach a lesson to somebody who is, by the way, Yuleskamp among them, that are standing up for the platform and the party, and they wanted him and me and a number of others to put up votes that are contrary to our convictions and our promise to our constituents and contrary to the platform, but convenient for the establishment wing of the party. And that is so wrong. It is political cannibalism, and that's what I labeled it. Yeah,
and that's a great label. It's an unfortunate label, but it's, I think, a very true label. Going forward, speaking of this leadership, is anything going to get done here? I mean, that you guys were elected, as you said, I mean, in a landslide in November, and we just had Stephen Moore on of the Heritage Foundation, and he said, it's amazing. He said the Republicans are acting like they lost, and the Democrats are acting like they won.
Well, Steve Moore is right on that. I've listened to the people that they claim this. Here's why people like Pete King will unload on Ted Cruz, is because he and others believe that the government shutdown that took place in October of last year, 2013, that was the fault of the conservatives, and primarily Ted Cruz as the ringleader in that. And instead, it was the last shot at shutting off funding to implement or enforce Obamacare. I brought nearly identical language on February 14th of 2011. They wouldn't stand with me then. It took another 2.5 years for the conviction to get deep enough that we could do that. But they say that, we were punished, that our polling numbers went down, and that they had to do a lot of healing back up to be in order to save seats. Well, so we picked up 15 seats in the House and 9 in the Senate, the majority in the Senate, and they claim that it would have been apparently better if we had not gone through that shutdown. The president shut the government down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not the Republican Party.
Yeah, well, it was Boehner who blamed Ted Cruz. He said, he made me do it. You didn't do it, Mr. Speaker, and certainly Cruz couldn't make you do anything. It's just insane. Let me go back to the opening soundbite was of Barack Obama. One final issue here, Congressman, and I want you to listen to Steve Israel. You said something, and I want you to clear up what you said, and Steve, listen to Steve Israel's response. Here it is.
I know Steve King. I didn't know he was a Talmudic scholar, able to define what is a Jew and what makes a good Jew. Look, I don't advise Steve King on issues that he's close to, and I certainly do not expect Steve King to advise me on what makes a good Jew.
Insulting?
Insulting and dangerous. Dangerous because the relationship between the United States and Israel should not be used as a partisan football. And when you get this invective that begins to creep on dual loyalties, and when somebody like Steve King begins to pass judgment on what's a good Jew and what's not a good Jew, that becomes very dangerous territory, and he needs to just back down.
You weren't talking about dual loyalty, were you?
You know, and truthfully, I asked a rhetorical question. I wasn't passing judgment. I just said, I don't know how you can be Jewish in America and be a Democrat first and be Jewish second. And because I see a lot of left-wing Jews that are lining themselves up with President Obama. A good number of them took a walk on Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech before a joint session of Congress. But also, I'm seeing that happen around the country. And I would think that the affinity would be strong enough they at least want Israel to survive. And you can't think about survival of Israel if you can accepting an idea of an Iranian nuclear capability. Right. Is what's implicit in all of this.
So, Congressman, is Steve King purposely distorting what you said?
Or Steve Israel?
I'm sorry.
Well, sure, sure he is. When he demanded an apology in a tweet, and he demanded that the Republican Party repudiate me. Yeah. And I just tweeted back and said, that's the kind of request that you make eye to eye and man to man.
And by the way, Congressman, isn't it Barack Obama a Christian who always tells Muslims that they're not practicing Islam? Just for the record. Hey, Congressman, well, great to talk to you. We're out of time. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right,
Thank you,
Steve King, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, we're going to be joined by Iranian political analyst Banafsheh Zand. But first, let us know if Senator Ted Cruz is your candidate. Go to newsmax.com/polls.